I had a friend call me about a month ago and he said, I'm going to send you a picture of a item that floats in the water, has a spinner on it. And he said, you anchor it and it floats between your duck decoys to give you a little bit of motion in the water. He said, do you think you can figure out how to make one? So for the last month, I've been thinking about how we can put these together. I went to the dollar store. I went, looked around, found 4 or 5 different options. So I'm going to give you 3 or 4 options on how to make a floating, we're going to call them floating wings. And this will probably be a series because I'm going to try to keep them to about 7 minutes a piece or 8 minutes a piece. So there's a lot of work that's going to go in each one. You're going to go through the process of me trying to figure out how to make them work. I'm not just going to lay it out there. I'm going to show you what my thoughts are and what we're doing and how we're going to do it. So, now'd be a good time to subscribe to Bannock Outdoor Television. Without you guys, we don't have anything. Well, on the first floater that I've thought about is going to be made out of a Pepsi bottle, some 16-ounce Pepsi bottles. We all drink Pepsi. I've taken the label off of it. I went to the hardware store and I looked for some hooks or round eyes that would fit up in there and that the grout would hold in that I'm going to use for ballast. But for some reason, none of them had a long enough shank. So what I decided to do was take my number 9 wire, about 17 inches of it, and I'm just going to do like we did on the others. I'm just going to put a hook in here on the bottom so that I can tie my anchor to when we get to the water. And that way it'll go all the way through the bottle, but it'll go all the way through the bottle, and this hook will hold it in place. And we're going to glue it in so it doesn't leak at all. So the first thing we're going to do, or the next thing we're going to do, is we're going to drill a hole dead center in the bottom of this bottle. Exactly the same size as your number 9 wire. And dead center in the cap. I rinsed these out so there's a little water left in the bottle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push this through, and I'm going to glue it at about that point right there, using super glue and our baking powder solution. And that way it'll be held into place, it'll be sealed, and it'll be a good start for what we need to do. Put that around there and put a little baking soda on it to soak it up really fast so it seals it really quick. And I'm going to do one more bead on it just to make sure that it doesn't come loose in the process of adding grout to it. Now I tried to float these bottles and they just roll on their side. That's why we're going to put a little grout in them. And so what I've done is I've got a piece of styrofoam here, and I'm going to cut a hole in it so that That hook will fit right in there, and the bottle sits level. What I did is I went down and got a funnel from a dollar store for $1. It's for a transmission refill, and I cut it off so that it would fit right there in the bottle. Now I'm going to mix up some grout. We're going to mix up some grout, and I don't know exactly how much to put in these bottles, so your guess is as good as mine. So we're going to call this a scientific wild-ass guess, a swag, and we're going to, I think I'll go about a third of the way up the bottle and see how it floats. I'd like to see that much float out of the water once we get it put together. That's pretty thin stuff right there. I'm going to add just a little teeny bit more to it. I want it to run, but I want it to be a little bit. So I've got vacuum cleaners to clean everything up with when we get done. I'm going to pour this into the funnel, and I've got the wire out of the way because I want the wire to come out of the center. Like I said, I want to come up, I think, about a third of the way. Maybe just a touch more. Like I said, all we're doing is guessing. It might sink right to the bottom when we put it in the bucket. Put the cap on it. Make sure it's level. And we're going to let that set for, well, probably 24 hours. We'll come back out and we'll do the float test on it in a 5-gallon bucket of water. Okay, it's been a few hours now and our concrete is dry. And we're going to take the moment of truth to see if it actually floats. We might have put too much concrete in it, but it's good and solid right now, and we're gonna see what happens. We've got a bucket of water, and we have a 5-gallon bucket of water, and we're gonna see if this floats. It might just sink to the bottom. You never know. So we're gonna set her in there, and by golly, it does float. It's floating just a little bit lower than I really want it to float. But that gives us an idea of what we need to come up with next. So it looks pretty darn good for a worn out old Pepsi bottle that we took the label off of. They're 16-ounce bottles, and we're going to paint this up and finish it up, but in the meantime, we're going to make one more. I'm going to measure up on the concrete to see how far we came up, and I'm going to drop it down about a half an inch and see what kind of a float we get out of the next one. But even in rough water, that thing will bounce up and down. If you notice, we got the hook on the bottom for our anchor. So pretty darn good. Just a little bit lower than I wanted to. So we'll make another one. Okay. Okay, we're going to make a second one. We're going to put the loop in the bottom of it for our anchor. And we're just going to do it real quick. That concrete on that last one was about 3.5 inches, so we're going to put it at about 3 and see where we're at on this one. We'll drill our hole in the bottom. Great thing about the Pepsi bottle, it's already marked dead center. These won't take long to make at all once we get to producing them. That hole is very, very tight that we got there. I'm going to go ahead and just grab hold of it on the top edge. We're going to put our super glue in there. Baking soda to dry it up really fast. Make sure you got a garbage can close by. And I'm going to give it one more dab. It's solid now, but I just want to make sure we get plenty in there. Make sure that's level. Should have taken the wrapper off of it. We'll do that real quick. They're kind of a booger to get off at times. We don't want to cut it. We want to make sure we just tear it off. There we go. And your wrapper's off. A little bit that's on the back, if the water takes it off, you may have to redo it, repaint it just a little teeny bit. These containers I'm using for the grout, they're paint containers, and we get them from Lowe's for about $1.29 for 3 of them. That's why I don't mind throwing them away. We're going to measure up 3 inches. I'm going to mark it so that I have a good idea of where to take my grout to. Make sure that's pretty level. Made way too much last time, so we're going to cut back on it a little bit this time. Just a touch of water. It's got to be fairly runny or it won't go in the funnel. Have to add just a little teeny bit more. Put our funnel in there. Okay, we're right on the line, so we'll see how that goes. Just not touch it, just let it set for 6 or 7 hours till it gets good and hard. I took and painted the first one. So what I want to do is I want to seal a hole in the lid where we put the wire through, just in case it sinks into water too deep. And then I'm just going to hit that real easy with a little bit of glue. Put a little baking soda on it to dry it up really fast. There we go. I'm going to go out and spray the lid, and this one will be done. Almost done. Well, the second one is setting up. We're going to measure up a couple inches, about 3. And we're going to bend it over to the side. We got a swivel here that we're going to put on when we get to a certain point. And we're going to bend it. We're just going to put a bend in it for the eye, a real small eye. Remember, we use a ball bearing swivel for these that just fit. Get a little bit bigger pair of pliers so we can clamp it together. We've got a small spinner that we're going to put on it. Add a little bit more to this. And that's what it looks like. Going to have to add a little extra wire to it. We didn't go with enough wire. But like I said, we're doing the trial and error. So we're going to get it right. These pop bottles are cheap. So instead of 16 inches of wire, I'm going to go 24 on the next one. And we're going to set them in the water and see how they work. That looks really good in the water. The spinner's not touching the water. We can shorten them up. But we're going to get a little bit of spin out of them. Like I said, we need a little bit more wire coming up out of the bottle. But for the first prototype, that's pretty darn good. We'll just keep working at it. That's what we're doing, the trial and error thing. And when we get to the point, we'll be perfect. So we've got 3 others we're going to do. In this spinner, we have about $1.30 in it to make it, since we used a Pepsi bottle. So we're going to keep plugging away. This is the first prototype that we've done. The one that we just poured, I'm not going to even continue with it because we need more wire to come out of the top. So the next step for this is to finish it up the right way, get it to where we want it, and then go to the river. Well, I didn't want to leave you hanging, so I went ahead and built another floater. And instead of using 3 inches of concrete, I used 2.5 inches. I used 24 inches of number 9 wire, and then I used my 1.5 by 2 inch spinner. Spins really good. We're going to set it in the water here in a second, but I told you it's only going to go a few minutes, 7 to 8 minutes. Video's going to be a little bit longer than that. I'm not going to apologize because there's a lot of good information in there. But anyway, let's set this in the water. I'm going to show you how it floats.